I recently did a video in Illustrator showing how to do a quick bare bones graphic kit, and this time I decided to go ahead and do a video in Illustrator or in Flexi Sign in the production environment that I'm comfortable with. And so let me just start. I'm going to work this time on the right side of the bike, which is the left side of the screen, and I'll quickly do a similar design as what I had done in Illustrator, just to kind of keep apples to apples. So you notice that in Flexi Sign we don't close the path automatically like it does in Illustrator. And okay, let's put that little element up here. I do like in Illustrator how it gives you those kind of snap values, the snap to art. It is a nice feature. I do like that. Versus here, it's kind of what you see is what you get. In Flexi Sign, there is a closed path feature, so I'll do a quick little illustration of that. So we've got this open path. If you just hit the close button in the Design Center, it automatically takes you there, so you don't add another node by accident. Okay, I'm just going to adjust this real quick. The reason I'm doing this on the left side of your screen or the right side of the bike is because I'm going to use a mirror feature. It's part of Flexi Sign, which allows me to flip the artwork in duplication, and it typically does it from left to right. So that's why you're seeing me work on this side of the screen. All right, so let's just make some colors here. Let's go white this time at the top. I'm gonna do let's do black here. Give it a white plate, and let's see. I'm hitting the N key for selecting the node. I use a lot of shortcuts, so I'll try and explain as I go. Okay, here's a cool tool. It's a path edit tool. It's up here. I'll pull the toolbar down so you can see it. This is the path edit tool. I'm going to be using the straight point, but my shortcut is Alt Z, and that's a custom shortcut. Let's see, let's go. I'm going to use the same tool. It will stay persistent in your hand until, that is an interesting thing. That's an interesting effect that just happened. Sometimes the tension on, which there shouldn't have been any tension because I didn't create any curves. But sometimes the tension happens and it releases. I'm going to use the sharpen corner tool, which is I've shortcutted to Alt V. A lot of my shortcuts use the Alt key as an alternative to control, because many of the controls have already been assigned, and I like most of those control ones, so I opted. So I want a straight edge here, so I'm going to make a cookie cutter here. Just going to use a guideline and then close that path there. So then I'll group these two pieces together, Control G, so you get, that's one of those defaults, and then I'm going to use the remove overlap versus cutout, because I don't want the information back. I just want the two pieces to be loosey-goosey. And then I'm going to do this right here. I think that looks better. Okay, and let's see, this thing looks a little too far out now. I'm going to go back to different colors. Go back to this blue. And I'm going to just select both. I'm going to go to Control F to go to the wireframe mode, and then just move those nodes down using the node control tool. That's fine. So as before in the Illustrator version, I was saying that you need to duplicate the artwork that you need for each bleed object. So the bleed object, just as a reminder, is this outer object. Here's the cut contour. That's the path that the cutter is going to cut along. And again, it's a unique stroke color called cut contour, and it's spelled just like that: capital C-U-T, capital C-O-N-T-O-U-R. And in this case, it's gray by default through Flexi, and Flexi does treat it as a special object, and but to send it to a RIP such as VersaWorks or Onyx, it just needs to have a spot color label on the stroke. It doesn't have to have any weight to the stroke, and it will cut. So and like I said before, I don't work in layers within Flexi. I typically just move things up and down relative to the one layer. So it does have layers. Here's the editor for that. It's not as clean as Illustrator, but it does the same job. I use this mostly for the objects so that we can get to the objects. So again, I want to duplicate the amount of artwork or base artwork, which would be this stuff. I want to group them first, and you can see I move it out of the way. So I have two pieces here that I want it to duplicate on. So I'll just go ahead and duplicate, and then I'm going to do the fuse under combine. So I'm going to hold the base bleed and the base artwork, and I'll use the fuse feature, or I have it Control-Alt-F. I'll do it to each piece. So now you can see that the artwork has been contained within the bleed, and I can move that around versus doing a mask. You can do a mask too, but then you have a separate bleed and a masked area or objects. And in this right here, if you wanted to, here, let me go backwards a little bit first to I'll delete this base artwork here, and I'm going to clear the effect there. And then I'm going to group the two bleeds together. This is if you wanted to design within the confinement of the bleeds. So let's imagine you can't see, you're not getting a good visualization what's happening because of everything extending beyond the bleed. So if you go ahead and just do a fuse to both objects. Now let's say I want to edit some lines. So I go to the N tool or node select tool, and I just click on here. Now I have access to the artwork, and I can modify within. You can do this similarly in Illustrator. So let's do this. Let's go like that and see, maybe that looks cooler. Who knows? It's your prerogative how you want to design. But that's one way I like to design at times. So, and again, like say this looks like it's kind of doing a little bit of a concave, so I can go ahead and drop a guide on here, and I'll just move the pivot point here and rotate it. And yeah, for sure, the stuff's not lining up. So I'll just go ahead and take my N for the node select and just nudge it over. Okay, I've got an extra node there too, so that's a good thing. I can just delete that. And then I'll do the same thing for this white. And maybe I want to come down a little bit. At least I have that path there or that guideline to kind of give me a path to proper angle. So there we go. So okay, I'm satisfied with that. All right, so now you could go ahead, if you're just making base artwork in preparation for laying out logos, you can go ahead and start to do the mirroring and move the artwork over to the other side of the bike. But since we haven't laid any logos on it yet, I'd like to use one side of the bike to establish the logo design and then do the flip, because it may not work out perfectly with some logos. So I might have to modify the artwork, and I don't want to have to do it twice, so I'll just modify it on one side, and then when I'm happy with that, flip it over. And you're still gonna have to make tweaks to the opposite side, because in this case they're not mirrored perfectly. So I'll show you. Let me just flip this real quick. I'm going to use arrange mirror over here, which I've tagged, or I've hotkeyed to Alt E, and then you could use this space here to get it to line up. So you just drag that center node, and you can rotate it too, but be careful about that. It gets a little wonky. So you have to make sure you have this keep original tick mark checked, and then go ahead and hit enter. So now if I look at this in wireframe mode, oh, I got something bad going on here. Let me go backwards. See how the holes are lit up? I'm going to delete that. Somehow I got the, let me go and group that. I'm going to get back this artwork here. I must have grouped the, oh yeah, I made a major mistake there. I was trying to group the contour cuts to contour cuts, but I ended up selecting the bleed. So one of the consequences of having a small bleed, let me just ungroup this some more. There we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and select all my contour cuts and group those together and isolate them as one. These should be okay. Oh, there we go. You can do that before. Your template could be set up that way. This one, for some reason, was not set up with the contour cuts all grouped together. So let me go back and go ahead and group the bleeds together, and then we'll do the fuse to the bleeds. I'm just going to push it back, shift page down, or I've hotkeyed my mouse, my back and front button to up and down. So, but otherwise it'd be control or a shift page up, shift page down, and I think there's a button somewhere in here that allows you to do that. And I think under a range order, so here's the shortcut keys right here: shift page up, shift page down, and then you can go level by level. But the more artwork you have, this becomes useless. This forward and back one. So I avoid that. Okay, so going back to that illustration, I'm going to mirror again, and this time I'm not going to nudge it over. I'm just going to pull it like here, and I'm going to go align top, align left, and that's because the tail's a little higher on the section, so at least we're aligned left. You go to wireframe mode, and you can kind of see the alignment here. Zoom in. That's close enough. So now I would just simply separate or clear the effect, and then delete that base, the base bleed that I had grouped together. I'm going to push this to the back, pushing that to the back, so I see my contours. And then there's going to be some fudging. So like over here, I've got that black going right to the very point, and over here on this side it's not doing that. So all I need to do is just grab that one node and bring it down roughly to the same area, and massage the artwork until it suits right. The reason it's doing that is because they're different shapes. This plate on typically on the left side of your screen, that plate is a little more bulbous, meaning it has more contours to it. So on its flat template, it's going to lay differently as this one, because this side's more upright, like almost vertical from the seat down to the ground, and this one has some contours around this hole here, and to accommodate the exhaust pipe. So there's always some fudging to do. Okay, so I could leave it like that. It's fine, since I already modified it. And again, what I'm going to go ahead and clear the effect here, so I can get that back. I'm going to duplicate the artwork, bring it back over. I'm going to ungroup the bleeds, and then do that solo fuse to each bleed object. So now I have free reign to move those. So I'll do the same thing over here. I'll just duplicate the artwork, and then we'll do the fuse. Oh, I forgot to do? You're probably noticing I forgot to bring over the number plate, which is fine. I'll just come over here. I just duplicated holding the control key and dragged it over, and then under Design Central, I'm just going to use the flip here on that axis, and we are going to have to modify the angle. So I'll get this relative where I want it, drop a line. It would have been easier to have done this with the to just have captured it with the mirroring, but not everything's perfect. So Somehow my focal point there didn't get right. That looks close enough. You can zoom in. That looks good. And now let's nudge this over here. Yeah, so that gap between it is probably pretty important. It's about there. And then I'll just drag using the node control or the node select or control N, and then just drag this node down like that. Maybe this one up a little bit. Again, we're just massaging it to make it unique, or to make it fit and kind of get the nest of each side to look the same, but obviously they can't because this is a different size panel. All right, I'm going to delete that. All right, so now I can go back to here and go ahead and do the fuse, and then I'm going to group the base artwork together with the bleed. Oops, what do we got going on here? Do I already have one fused? Oh, they're grouped. So try that again. Nope. Bear with me, I'm losing my bearing here. So I had to duplicate the artwork. Now I'm going to go ahead and fuse this one to the side panel and just push this back and group them. And then check my contour cuts, make sure that they're grouped together with the contour cuts for the perimeter. And I'll move them out of the way. You see me moving things out of the way a lot because that helps me know that I've accomplished what I needed to accomplish, meaning group these things or get the artwork fused properly. So I just do a double check, make sure I didn't leave anything behind. All right, so there's that. Now let's do a front plate. So in front plates, I typically mirror the artwork. There's a lot of companies and people that design asymmetrically, and that's fine, do your thing. But for this tutorial, I'm going to go ahead and just do a symmetrical artwork. So first thing I do is grab a guide and then I center it, and to do that I have my hotkey on my mouse, the center wheel, left click. So my mouse wheel you can click left, you can click right, you can push down, and you can roll. And for the left click, I've hotkeyed that to, I think it's, what's it, Control 5? Control 5, or center both. Because that's the one I use the most. So if I'm doing an object like this, I use that feature right there, but I typically do it with my mouse. So I hit the left mouse wheel, and that gave me my center. Obviously there's different, if you hover over your alignment, it says left Control 4, right Control 6, top Control 8, bottom Control 2, and these are all default alignment hotkeys. So for me, 99% of my alignment is done via Control 5 or center or my mouse button. Okay, so now let's go ahead and design something. So let me design the actual plate where I want the artwork for the number to go on, the background, we'll call it. So I'll just draw something quick. I've drawn these things so many times, it's not even funny. Let's go. So it's hard to come up with something unique, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So there's my plate. And I'm only going to draw, again, the left side of the screen because I'm going to use that mirror effect. And I'm using this alignment guide here to make sure that all my nodes are on that path. Now, sometimes I miss it, and you'll do a mirror and you'll have like a V channel going up the middle or a gap. So be aware of that. Let's go here. Again, I've designed number plates so many times. It's hard to do something unique. So yeah, I'm just gonna randomly place marks. That looks a little weird, but let's see. My philosophy behind design is intent, balance, and flow. So if you intend, each point was with intentions, and each point is, or each modification is to create a balance, and then of course a flow. What are you trying to imply with it? But keeping a balance. This looks a little heavy on one side, on the left, so let me just move a little bit here, and we'll do a traditional banner up here. Let's see. Let's do something a little different. Let's go like this. I'm going to make sure it locks in right on that guideline. I'm going to go extend beyond the artwork. There we go. I'm working on a white plate, so we'll do that. Make this one black up here. And then I kind of want to see a curve following the contour of the plate. So in order to do that, I'm just going to make a cookie cutter real quick. And so I'll do an inline. So I'm going to use the outline tool and turn that under Design Central, turn it to an inline. And I'm going to just drag into where I think I want it, right about there. There's a few ways you can do this, but for right now, let's see if I align it up with the blue point right. There we go. I was looking at right here. And then hit OK. I'm going to separate the effects, so I have this part. There's a few ways I can do this. I can do separate overlap, which will get me, I can then delete that, and it's basically the same. Or I can do another method of another cookie cutter, and that is just draw a block right here, bring the red to the top, do a remove overlap. Obviously this is more steps, so why do and remove overlap again? So why do that process? Or I could mirror it. So I think the separate overlap was the faster way, and I got what I wanted. So now what we're going to do is select all the artwork you want to duplicate to their side. I'm going to group it. Actually, you don't even have to group it. You just go mirror. So arrange mirror, or Alt E as I have it set, and then hit the apply button in the Design Central. Oh, and one more thing. I think I already mentioned this, but you want to make sure, again, keep original. Otherwise, you'll just have the right side. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and weld it together using the combine tool. I don't need to do it on this one here. I'm going to group all the pieces, and I'm going to go ahead and fuse them. Not my best front plate, I have to admit. Looks a little wonky, but for this tutorial, it's fine. So we'll do the same thing on the front fender, and then we'll do a rear fender, fork guards, and then we'll start laying logos out. So I'll try and do this quickly. So this looks like the template wasn't completely centered to everything, so I'm just going to go ahead. We can do this. And notice that when I select, I'm just marqueing over and selecting the objects. And notice how the guide isn't selected. It's like in Illustrator, if you don't want to select that guide, it must be locked, but then you can't modify it. So it's a really bizarre thing, the way they've worked that out. So I prefer to be able to not select the guide by using the marquee. So now that I've grouped them together, I centered it. Now I'm going to work on some artwork for the front fender tip. Might as well center this guy up too while we're at it. Okay. Again, using the path, I think it was the Bezier path tool, or P, which I think is the same shortcut in Illustrator. Real generic front number plate or front fender. Kind of use that here. Let's actually steal some artwork from up here. I'm going to just duplicate this, holding the Control key and dragging. I'm going to release the effect, which was Control Shift Alt D for me, which is a hotkey I created, or the button up here, Control Z, is Clear Effect, or I think under Effects, Clear Fuse. I'm just doing the hotkey. So what I'm trying to do is just get this one little piece right there. I probably could have just selected within and grabbed it. So you can see it doesn't fit all the way to the front fender. I'm going to push this to the back so I can see the contour cut, and probably going to increase the size just a touch, but make this node come in. I don't want it coming off the path. And then okay, that's perfect. But hey, we can't mirror that. If we mirror this, it's going to be way over there. So what do we got to do? I'm going to do a cookie cutter. Just grab a rectangle or the hotkey R, drag it over that contour or that guideline, so it's aligned directly on that left side, and then while holding the shift key, we'll do remove overlap. And then just delete that, and then mirror it. And hit enter, and then while it's still selected, I hold the shift key and welded. So I'm happy with that. I'm gonna go ahead and fuse it. And now let's do the rear fender. And like in Illustrator, I was kind of going over why I would like to, or how most of our templates do have these kind of contour dash lines. I'll just kind of draw one. For instance, if this was the actual bike, it would be something like this. That you would, wow, you can't see that. Let's go with a darker color. So it'd be something like that, and it would be on both sides of the, and that would correspond to say an alignment line over here on the side number plates, which you can then you know, have some confidence about how the artwork's going to align from the fender to the side panels. But in this case there isn't, so if I grab this and duplicate it and move it over here and just kind of rotate it how it would be on the bike, you can see that unless you have actual perfect alignment lines, there's no way you can draw line artwork over with any confidence. But I can just do, like in the Illustrator example, is just do a block of color coming outside, and then obviously I need to do this in a 0 rotation, but I'll just show you how. So something like that, just meaning that all this area up here is going to be solid black and down here is solid black, and I don't have to worry about alignment. So I'm going to come over here and I'll make something a little bit better than what I just did there. Not a lot better, but something that's kind of in line with our current theme. Something like that. And then I'll do the mirror. And then I'll go ahead and group them together. And at this point, if you wanted to have maybe a landing strip down the middle, now's the time to do it. So I'll do a landing strip for the logos. And then I think since we're going to do it, might as well have this point come close to the tip of, or the ending as if it was being drawn out. All right, and okay, so in the event that you didn't get the nodes that were created here perfectly on this guide path, I'll just nudge it over, just kind of give you an illustration. So I'll mirror now and show you what happens if that happens. You get this channel down the middle. Now if that's what you wanted, that's perfect. But no, I probably want it to be aligned to the path so I can mirror properly. So I'm going to use the select node or select point tool, the letter N again on the keyboard, and then holding the shift key, I'm going to grab that other rogue and then align right. And then just for fun, I'm going to go ahead and hold the alignment guide and then the object and align right, so that I know for certain that that object is on that line, center line. Now I'm doing the mirror, and then while I've got it selected, I'm going to go ahead and weld it together, and let's do this black down the middle, and I'll go ahead and hold now all three objects, and we'll do the fuse. Again, fuse is up here and combine, so it's going to fuse to the bleed. Got to make sure you do not fuse to your contour cut, otherwise all those little pieces of artwork are going to cut out. It'll inherit the contour cut stroke, and you're going to make a huge mess. So there's the fuse. And finally, we've got, what do we have? Delete this up here. We have the swing arm and the lower fork guards. So we've stole artwork from the front number plate. So let's steal artwork from the rear fender. Let's separate the effect, or clear the effect, sorry. Ungroup. And let's give us place for the logo down the middle. Let's do all the way down. Hell yeah, let's do that. Do black. I'm going to send this to the back so we can kind of see what's going on. Now it can do, let's probably do it on the left side here, which is the right side of the bike. That way all I have to do is mirror it over. And then You know, you don't need to get too crazy. Let's try it the other way. I'm going to flip it. Using the Design Central, you have these flipping on the axis, so I'm going to flip it this direction. And I'm still not, there we go. That's fine. I don't want to get too crazy with all this zigzag stuff. And actually, I'm going to go, I don't want this point right here, that's happening. So I'm going to grab this top tool and then align left or right. Doesn't matter which one you align to. Something like that. I'm going to group it, and I'm going to do the fuse. And then while I've got it selected, I'm going to do the mirror. And then I'm going to go ahead and align this to the right. So I'm holding the base bleed on the, you know, the cable guide side. And then the base arc card is created, and go ahead and align to the, yeah, those should have already been aligned. These should have been aligned automatically. I don't know why they aren't, so that's why I had to align bottom. Wireframe mode, this would have been a lot easier if these were already up. I don't know why they weren't. Okay, and now I'm going to clear the effect or the fuse, delete that bleed, and then reselect the actual bleed I want, and then hold the base artwork and do the fuse. All right, I think we're done. If you want to do something on the swing arm, I typically just do them in the swing arm gray, which is here. But you could add some artwork to it if you would like. I feel like since we have these little joggers, I'm going to add something on the shroud. Maybe just a point. So if you hit the plus key next to your backspace button, it'll automatically allow you to add another node. And then I'm going to use the N key, and I'm just going to drag like that. And I'm going to add one more node. So hitting the plus key, and then back to the N key for node select. And then let's see, let me just delete that. Ooh, that looks, no. Maybe make it more pathed out. Sure, why not? Okay, and then rather than do the whole full mirror, I'm just going to go like this, duplicate one over, remove the effect, ungroup, delete everything else, leave that there, flip it in Design Central, and then I'll come over here, and I'm going to go ahead and just clear the effect, and I'm going to clear the effect one more time because it's in both the plates. There we go. Send this to the back, ungroup this, and then I'm going to align, since I didn't change anything on the right side, I'm going to align top and right. We'll make it a different color so you can see. So go align top, align right, and then while it's selected, I'm going to hold the shift key and deselect the blue and delete the pink. I should go back and do the same thing over here, which I'll do in just a second. So now I'm duplicating. This happens a lot when I'm designing, is like I make a change and then I have to do it over again. That's kind of what I was saying. Once you want to work on one side of the bike, but I'm trying to go quickly on this so you guys don't get too bored. And so let's assume that I went over here and corrected the one that's trapped in here. All right. Okay, now I did bring some logos in, so let's go ahead and lay them out. Normally I just start importing them from my logo directory, but I've already imported a bunch here, so I'm going to grab these. Just going to pull them down. One thing you want to watch for is colors, and when you pull logos in, they typically will have more colors than your artwork does. So if I hit select by attribute or the D key, you'll see there's probably a ton of colors. So I can just start consolidating, which is what I would do before I went to print, is I just consolidate all the colors that I see, and then I'm just getting all the blacks to be black, and then I do all the reds and all the blues that I want to be the same. So that's, again, that's under arrange, no, let's see, it's under edit. Is it? I don't even remember. So I use it so much. Where is select? View. It's usually under edit. Select. Yeah, there we go. Select. Select by attribute or the letter D. So remember that. It gets this thing. This is a very powerful tool. Weird. I'm not sure if I got a stuck key or what. Something that's happened. Oh, I know what I did. I must have hit the Windows key and D because that's, yeah, weird. Oh, something weird happened. Okay, let's do logo. So who wants to do the primary logo? Obviously Kawasaki would be the easiest, quickest to grab. I don't want that full thing. Let me grab this guy, pasting it in here, make it white, and then I'm going to rotate it. So you want to make sure that before you rotate, that all your logos are set to 0 on the rotation. So just verify that first. It's to be important for when you do this again. Okay, why is that logo? So that logo is obviously wrong. My employee brought this logo in and he didn't finish it. So we'll take this one instead. There's what I saw was plugged letters when I changed it to white. So again, 0, and then you're going to be able to rotate. And if you want it to be exactly parallel with like the bottom line, then I would go into wireframe mode, and when it's selected, it'll be red or whatever color the layer is, and then just move your pivot by double clicking, moving your pivot, and rotating the rotation nodes, or control, whatever they're called. All right, so where else should we put the Kawasaki logo? Maybe we'll put the Kawasaki logo over here on the front fender tip. Oops. And I'll remind you to just work on one side at a time because all you're going to do is mirror. Let's make that black. And then we'll grab that circle logo here. This is a new logo they're using. I'm not sure what it means. Haven't put the time in to figure that out. So align to the middle. And then maybe what I'll do in order to really kind of pop that off, I'll do an outline. So I'm going to go and use the outline tool, or what do I have? Alt. Now that I think about it. Let's see. I'll just go from inline to outline. 1, 2, 3. Okay, well now we're getting all these little weird things in it. So, or what I could do is just, since it's a circle, is hit the C key for circle and then just draw that. I'm going to clear that effect. Bring this to the top, center it, and then nudge it down, and we'll make that let's say the Kawi green. Like so. And then I'll group that together so that they're together. Let's put the Kawasaki logo here too. Yeah, so I rotated it to 0, then I rotated it 90 degrees to the right. And let's use Dunlop. Let's go there next. So we'll go like this, and typically we want that to read to the outside, so do like that. And one other logo. Yeah, let's do this one. This is not supposed to be gray, so we'll make that white. And I'm going to select all that red too. So I'm going to do a selection of select similar color, which you can right mouse click, select. Oh, there we go. Select similar color, which I've hotkeyed to Alt S. And I'm going to change that to the color that actually prints. And then I'm going to change this green to the color we actually use as well. First of all, let's see. So I'm just going to select the same color everywhere and do that. Oops. I managed to grab white. So we got to look here. It says green, so change it to that green. And then group it. And then rotate it 90 degrees to the right. I like to have my logos have a nice little home. I don't like to cross over if I can avoid it. It's your preference, obviously. So do as you like. All right. I would like an FMF logo. So I'm doing an import. All right, and so we'll do an FMF logo on the fender arch. And typically they've distorted them a little bit, so I'm just going to wing it. Only on the swing or the fender arch do they do that. Okay, so I'm happy with the way that looks for the front fender, so I'm going to go ahead and just mirror. So this is where that rotation thing comes in real handy. So holding the center guideline and then selecting by holding the shift key your logos, go ahead and do the mirror. So arrange mirror, or I have it as Alt E, hit apply. Oh, the logos are in reverse. Yes, of course they are. So we're going to flip them, and then because we kept those rotation at 0 when we first started rotating, I just hit the negative number and it goes that. It works just like this in Illustrator as well. There we go. So now the logos are mirrored, and then the same thing here. I can just do the mirror, hit enter. I'm going to hold the shift key while I hit nudge the arrows over it, which makes it accelerate, and then get roughly where I want it to be. And then instead of doing rotating, all I do is just flip it horizontally or vertically like that. And they're perfect. So, oh yeah, so it's touching into the brake cable slot. So I'm going to take both of these, since we've already got them aligned, and just nudge it down a little bit so that I'm not interfering with that cable. And then I like that, so I'm going to go ahead and group them. Same with the front fender. Go ahead and group. I'm going to start deleting some. Every time, just so you know, every time you mirror, you get another. You're also duplicating the guide because it's selected. So I just deleted a couple of those. All right, let's do a rear fender. We'll take that Dunlop logo, but I think I want one with the outline around it, like that. And what I'll do is flip it around, and instead of the black outline, let's do a blue outline. So I'm going to ungroup it, select that black outside, and then I've selected the, actually I can not ungroup it. If I do select within, which is the white picker here under select tool, or Alt A, so I'm going to select Alt A, and then I'm going to grab that, and because it's all one, that outline is one piece, and then I can go ahead and use the eyedropper, or I've hotkeyed it to Alt D, and then select that color, and then now I'm going to rotate. And it does help to, if this is your own personal bike or a customer's bike, and you don't know what's going on right in this area, oftentimes the template will fold over the edge, or there's a valley right here behind where the number plate intersects. You know, you want to take note of that, so it doesn't look so silly when it's on the bike. So I'm going to go ahead and just raise this up a little bit, keep it away from that outside edge, and potentially from this little dimple area, and trying to split the difference between the angles that are going like down the middle of the converging angles, if I can. So to kind of illustrate that with a guide, so these converging angles are, here's an angle here, guide that, duplicate this, rotate it. Okay, so we've got these two angles tapering down to 0. So converging meaning I want to have just split the difference. So like that. Something like that. So that's basically what I'm trying to accomplish. And it's subjective. It's just, you know, you're using your eye. You can get super exact, or just base it off what looks good. But without the guidelines for the contours, it's kind of flying blind, but I'm pretty confident this is going to work fine for this bike. So now let's go ahead and start laying some logos. Let's get like this NGK logo in there. We'll put this guy, put this thing back on there. Maybe make it green. I'm not worried about centering them right now. And what I don't like is, in this case, I don't like circle next to each other. So I'm going to put a gap there and do something else. Let's see. Let's go. Oh yeah, some of my favorite stuff here. These all have to go on here. If you know, you know. All right, so let's put this here. Oh, I need to bring them all up. So I just did shift page up with my mouse hotkey. And then I do like to have kind of a taper of logos where they get progressively narrower as they go down. It doesn't always work because, I mean, that NGK's got to be pretty big. And let's see, so this Fruit of the Loom is not going to work on this black background with that black lettering. So I'm going to ungroup, select just the lettering. I'm going to go and give it a white and make sure there's no strokes on any of this. I just did a quick tracing before this video. To have this particular logo in there. Let's see what else. VP. I shouldn't have ruined that FMF like I did. Let's put twin air in there. Okay. That works for me. I'm going to put VP at the bottom just to get better balance. And then move twin air up. Might even move twin air up here. Put that there. Again for balance. That might be too wide. Okay. And then you could do a distribute by gap, but I like to just eyeball it because, you know, like this Oscar Mayer has a lot of negative space to the left of it and a lot of negative space to the right of it on the bottom. So you kind of try and balance it by just a feel. At least that's how I do it. If you can't manage that, then, you know, just do it. You can do like here, I'll show you doing the distribute, which doesn't always work. Let's see if that using distribute via centers, that doesn't look great. Or J key, we can do this way. Give it a gap of, this is a 1/2 inch gap between them. Not horrible. That worked pretty good. Might want to go a little bit bigger gap. There, that works pretty good. Again, that was the letter J. All right, so now we want that Dunlop over on there. So I'm going to go and do the same thing I did before. I'm going to mirror it over, and then all I have to do is do and flip the axis. Doesn't matter if it's X or Y, and then, oops. There we go. Oh, something's wrong. What did I do wrong? There's a reason that chime came up. I must have hit the wrong button. Oh, don't forget to save as you go. So you want to save as frequently as possible so that you don't have to go back and do all this stuff again. All right, And let's do finish the shrouds. What shall we put on the shrouds? I'm thinking let's do Jiffy and Fruit of the Loom. Yeah, let's do that. So I'm going to match the angle here. It may work, it may not work. I just copied it using Control Copy, and then threw that in the Design Central angle, which is pretty close. Probably could be a little less. If I rotate them together, I'm going to put the point here, trying to get that Fruit of the Loom to be parallel to the bottom black line. Okay. There's that. Which then covers up some of that detail I went after. All right. Starting to look good in my book. I honestly don't care. And let's see, let's throw, I guess I should have brought more logos in. We'll put NGK and Oscar Mayer on the airbox. I'm just holding the control key and doing the dragging, which duplicates, or you could do control copy, but for whatever reason, duplicates faster. So now I like the angle here more or less, so I'm going to go ahead and grab that angle under the Design Central, copy it, and then we'll do both of them together. Rotate them like that. Of course, the Oscar Mayer is a little weird because it's a different angle already. So you can go down like that, or sometimes I like to go down this direction. The Oscar Mayer is definitely probably a bad call because of that weird angle on it. If you put it over here, maybe just take it off. And what else? Let's put this thing right here. This guy, I'm going to ungroup, take this circle, I'm going to copy it, and then Control Z to, nope, yeah, Y, to undo my group. Come back here, that's right. I'm going to put that circle at the bottom of the front plate. It's normally where I put my brand logo, but that works. And then, yeah, Rinthal. Just bring that in. I'm doing import. I'll put a traditional one on here. And then let's put DID. Oops. I'll show you how to import in just a second. The most basic way is to go File, Import, and that'll bring it up. I have a shortcut key for import, which I don't use because I got so used to using the Alt F. So if you hit Alt key, you'll notice up at the top here, it highlights the underscore of the first letter of your menu. So F and then I, it'll highlight I as the, or E or T or whatever that it is. As soon as you hit I, it opens up as if it was a shortcut key. And I do that so rapidly, Alt Fi, that I don't even think about it. But there, I do have a, I think it's Alt, I think it's Control Shift. No, Control Shift, Control Alt E. I don't know. I forget what it is. I obviously didn't remember it because it wasn't that important. So let's put Dirt Star and call it good. DID and Dirt Star. Just do like that. This is again like a subjective thing. So if these are these, so I'll do a piece of artwork too. These are mirrored, so I'm going to do just one side and then mirror it. So let me do a piece of artwork. And let's do, I'm going to duplicate that, bring this from the top, make it that blue, group it together, and then fuse it to the bleed. There we go. Good enough. Now I'm going to duplicate this and then mirror it, or flip it, and then just flip the logos. And hit save. The final thing we need to do is put a number on there. So you choose your own number. I'm just going to put, impact. It's just the easiest. So we'll go 1, 2, 3. Come over here to the design central, click on there, and then impact. Impact is a straight up and down font. I typically italicize it. A couple things I do is the spacing and italicizing and the width. So 3 things. So go back into Design Central, give it a little tilt, usually about 10 degrees. Reduce the tracking. Maybe in some, and like I showed before in the previous video, you can, these little dots here, I'm not sure if you can pick up on them, but there's little dots at the feet. And as long as you're justified left, this works really well. You just click on there, select it like a node, and you can use your arrow key to nudge it over. So I like the gap of the 1 and the 2, but not the 3, it was too close. So now, it looks roughly okay. That's okay, and we'll make that black. Oops. And then on here, the front plate, I'm happy with kind of the width of it, the natural 100% width of the font. And what I could do is, if I like to have this bigger number plate like that, or bigger number, I'll add a white outline. So Alt W or outline, and then I'll just kind of, that looks fine actually, the gap. Hit that, and yeah, it came in red because that's the default color right now I have for outline, and I'll just change it to white. And while I have that done, I'm going to bring it over here and then rotate it to where I want it to go. Bring all this to the back so I can see where the contour cuts are. Zoom in a little bit. Obviously this number doesn't fit, so I'm going to go ahead, and because I already have an outline on it, I'm going to go ahead and just select the T, letter T, which toggles the font. I'm going to select it all, and then I'm going to go to here and just reduce the size, and then I want to change the width of it. So right now we're at 100%, so I'm going to go like 130, and then bring it over, and then maybe, so what size font are we at right now? We're at a 3.9 inch, almost 4 inch font, just fine. I kind of like that. It could, sometimes I like to go a little more exaggerated on the lean. So let's go like 15%. Let's go even further. Let's go 25%. It's getting a little wacky now. Let's go to 15 again. And then, yeah. Now we'll see what it looks like on the other side. The newer Kawasaki, it's a little harder because that cutout's a little bit deeper. And because I did the outline on it while it was at 0 rotation, I can go ahead and put the negative number on here. If you do a rotation and then the outline, that re-zeros the rotation clock, and I'll show you. For instance, let me deselect that, put an outline on it again. Now you look at the rotation; it's 0. So you can't now go back to the other side and change that rotation as a negative number. So if it's real important for the number to sit in the number plate, then either make your number plate bigger or the number smaller. So like I could easily just go like this, bring those out, bring that up like that. And now my number plate is contained, so I'd have to do the same thing over here. Again, a subjective thing. So maybe now I change the location of these logos. Okay. So now the last piece is we want to put the logos from one side to the other. So I'll just go ahead and select these all together, holding the Control or Shift key, and then I'm going to grab base artwork too, and then I'm going to mirror it and do the same thing as we did when we first laid the base artwork. Just kind of go to wireframe mode, and I'm using the arrow keys to nudge the thing into position. And I'm going to go back to fill view, and I'm going to deselect. I'll just deselect altogether, and then delete the base artwork that was on top. And then we'll just start moving things around, and make sure that under Design Central, you go to here, change the rotation, put a negative number on there. Yes, it's tedious, but not as tedious as manually placing them again. So this is the fastest I've found how to do it. If you have a faster way, let me know. And take a look back. And then it looks like I'm pretty happy with that. I'm gonna delete all the extra bits I don't want, and then I'll go through and make my color changes. So like whatever that salmon color, let's see, where does it belong to? Oh, the Oscar Mayer. I don't know what that color is supposed to be, so let's leave it. And then let's see, we got these YZ and Reflex. They are pretty much the same blues. Go ahead and do that. I'm going to change it to here, same color. Fill. We got 281. I didn't mean to do 281. That would have been a dark blue. Let's see, Olympic blue. Where's that? Oh, that's fine. We'll go. I think that's more like a process cyan. What else do we have? We have this. That's probably the Oscar Mayer again. Bright orange. Make that the KTM orange that we use, which is a Pantone 021. And green, hexachrome green. So there's that green again. We want that to be the hexachrome green. And then we've got bright red, should be this Roland red. And all these whites. Anything else? That white. That looks close enough to white. And I just keep going back and forth. So these ones, that's the Fruit of the Loom. And where did that, I saw that right there. Change it to a deep spot black. I think that's all the Fruit of the Loom colors there. That looks like it should be black. So make that black. And Cowie green, that's fine. Honda red should be. So a lot of the logos, as we've gotten different printers over the years, our logos have different colors. So that's why I have so many of them. So you're going to probably have the same situation, especially if you import them from someplace. So you could put your name up here. You could put additional logos. I think this is done. At this point, what I would do is then save out as a print file. Or if I didn't want to do that extra file, I would simply duplicate. Right now I'm going through and grouping everything to itself. Each object, each component. So swing arm, fork tubes, rear fender to rear fender. And I'm touching everything just to make sure they're grouped. Cool. So you would want to then, if you hit D also, you can go to guides and get rid of all your guides. I hit the delete key after that. So say I'm ready to nest. So nesting is where you get it laid out on your printable sheet. So, and then what I would do is duplicate the artwork over here. And then if I didn't want to create a separate file called print file, because you want one with the design and one with, so you can come back to it and modify it. Because once you do a nest, all that alignment stuff has been shuffled. So I'm going to go ahead and change my artboard to my printable area. So for me, it's going to be 27 inches tall because I'm using 30-inch media by 65 because my flatbed limits that cutter size, or that. So that I want to get my graphic kit somewhere in this. It may fit, it may not fit. Nice thing about Flexi is which I think I went over in another video, is the true shape nest, which has improved over the last year. And so that's going to be under range true shape nest, or Alt N is my hotkey. And I'm going to confine it to just the height. I don't need to confine it to the width. If it goes over, that's fine. I'm going to make sure that break text groups is not initiated. I'm going to same with use holes. I don't want that. The rotation's fine. And then this is important for me, the gap between the objects. 0.2 is what I prefer, because I'm using a flatbed that doesn't have a vacuum chart hold or a vacuum hold down. I'm using electrostatic chart hold, so that's not very strong. So I tape the jobs to the cutter, and therefore they can't be too close, or else there's a chance that the knife will grab the object away as it's too close to another object. So if you're using a vacuum one, you can get pretty darn close. If you're using a roll-fed cutter, you can get really close, and you could pretty much set that to 0 for the gap. But for my environment, I'm leaving it at 0.2 of an inch, and I'm going to hit apply. Give it a little time for the computer to think. Don't worry about that. That's just because it thought it took to. Okay, so here's for instance, I'm going to undo. Obviously, I didn't group one of those swing arms together. I thought I did. You probably saw it when I touched that it didn't group, but there it is. So there was a vacant template in there. So I'm going to go back to the Alt N, change this again to my 27-inch. Hit all the other settings are fine. Hit apply. It's probably going to give me that same warning. Yep, which is fine. So I did a pretty good job of getting that in there. So all I have to do is just kind of rotate these things like so. Do one line to the bottom to the right of the sheet. By default, it will do that. There's also a line to artboard. And at this point, I would say we're pretty close. I might move some pieces like that. There's no reason to have that close. So maybe rotate that up here and move it away. So I'm trying to eliminate this tugging area right here as best as possible. So I'm moving that there. And because I'm between cutting objects here, while it fit, it's a higher risk, especially with this fender. When it comes around, it typically will get caught up in here. So even this looks a little sus. So I'm going to rotate the tip down away from that object like so, and then align to the bottom and give myself more air between each object. And that's all I'm doing right now, is just giving myself as much insurance as possible that I'm not going to wad up this graphic on the cutter. Usually it's pretty good, but it's always good to be a little cautious. So I'm just going through here and rotating things to accomplish that very thing of more space. If I have the space, might as well use it. And it's a little tight right there, but I think we can manage. So now, usually I'll put a mini plate in there. So I'll go ahead and take the front plate, and I'll just make it my default size of 4.5, duplicate it in a 2.5. Those are our two sizes that we like to do. Like so. Tempting. Again, flatbed, chart hold, electric chart hold, don't push it. If you got a roll fed, put them right next to, you can fit as much as you want in there. Typically the roll fed cutter is not going to go through the liner, so that's why you can go really tight with nesting. On a vacuum, you can go pretty tight because the vacuum is really strong. It's going to hold down the artwork to the table, and you should minimize the amount of wads that happen. All right, that pretty much concludes this ground up design in Flexi Sign. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment. Yeah, thanks for watching.